At the party, my boyfriend's childhood female friend sat on his lap and shared a cup with him. She gave me a challenging look with her eyes and said, "Sister won't mind, right?" My boyfriend also smiled and stroked my head, saying, "Of course not. My baby is the most generous." I couldn't bear it anymore and slapped his hand away, saying, "I've even kissed my childhood male friend. You're so generous. You won't mind, right?" The next second, the voice of my childhood male friend came from behind. "Kissed? Why don't I remember? It was a party for Michael's basketball team. When we met, Sophia rushed over and hugged Michael around the waist. Her face was flushed as she said, "Michael, your abs aren't as comfortable as before." Michael gave a light cough, and then she slowly let go, saying, "Sister, Michael and I have been like this since childhood. Don't mind." I was speechless. I'm 1 year younger than her. My boyfriend is Michael, and Sophia is his childhood friend. He says she's like a younger sister to him. During the meal, she looked at the fried chicken pieces that Michael had picked for her. She took a small bite and then put it back into Michael's bowl. "You forgot I'm on my period these days and prone to breakouts, right?" She pouted and said in a slightly complaining tone, "Well, of course you won't remember me now that you have a girlfriend." During the game session, Sophia was selected for the truth or dare of drinking a toast with someone. She plopped down into Michael's lap, and Michael instinctively put his arm around her. Sophia poured half of the wine from her glass into Michael's glass, then grabbed Michael's elbow. She fluttered her big eyes at Michael and said, "Sister won't mind, right?" Michael casually ruffled my hair and said, "How could she? My girlfriend is the most magnanimous." I couldn't stand it any longer and let out a cold laugh. "What's the big deal? I've even kissed my childhood male friend." Michael's hand holding the wine glass froze, and his face suddenly darkened. "Emily, what are you talking about?" He crossed the line first and still dared to shout at me. I didn't want to confront him head on, so I spoke in a weak voice. "Are you scolding me?" Michael was stunned for a moment, pushed Sophia away, and stood up. He softened his voice and said, "No, baby. You were just talking nonsense, right?" He seemed eager to confirm with me. "Right." Sophia was pushed by Michael and staggered as she got up from the ground, looking all wronged. "I did kiss him before, but it was when I was 5. I didn't plan to mention it." Everyone at the table looked at each other, as if waiting for a good show to start. I thought this was probably the last party, and I wouldn't meet them again in the future. So I didn't plan to show mercy. To hurt someone, you have to hit them where it hurts. I reached out to tidy up Michael's fringe, gave a charming smile, and said, "Childhood friends have a deep bond. You're so generous. You should understand, right?" My childhood male friend and I even shared a cup of milk tea, taking sips one after another. When I was 5, it was my first cup of milk tea, and neither of us wanted the other to drink more. He carried me on his back for 5 kilometers in the snow on a cold winter day. His back was really warm. In the 4th grade, I read his diary out loud in front of my family, and he chased me for half an hour out of anger. Later, I fell and forced him to carry me home. He almost missed his college entrance exam just to bring me my admission ticket. This was true. I didn't even expect him to show up that day. By the time David got to his exam room, he was already 13 minutes late. With each word I said, Michael's face got uglier. When I thought he was about to lose it, I finished a glass of coconut juice and slowly said, "Well, thanks to you two for reminding me." I clicked my tongue, took off the couple ring with Michael, and said, "Michael, let's break up. I think I still like him better. As for you," I tilted my head towards Sophia. "Since you want it so much, here you go." Michael panicked. "Baby, don't be silly, really. How much do you like him?" A familiar and mellow voice came from behind. I turned my head following the sound. David was dressed in black, with his hands in his coat pockets, staring at me playfully. I twitched the corner of my mouth. Who else could it be but my troublesome childhood male friend? I was caught spouting nonsense by the person in question. And it was the person I was in a Cold War with. Because of the Cold War, I didn't even know when David Davis joined the school basketball team, let alone expect him to show up. How can I handle this? Emily. My mind was in a complete mess, and I was terrified that David would expose me the next second. Michael Johnson stood up, frowned, and asked David, "David, is Emily talking about you?" David raised his eyebrows but didn't say a word. Everyone at the table looked like they'd just discovered a huge piece of gossip. My eyes accidentally met Sophia Williams. She was staring at me, as if waiting for me to make a fool of myself. Being humiliated at this moment would be worse than being killed. I pinched my palm hard to calm myself down, then trotted over to David in big strides. I put my arm around his and snuggled up to him affectionately. Ignoring the playful look on David's face, I innocently blinked at him. "Brother, you came to pick me up." I gritted my teeth and gave David a big smile, then slipped my fingers into his pocket and wrote "please" with my hand. "David, at least for old time's sake, give me some face." Just as I was trying to soften David up by acting like a poor little puppy, I heard Sophia's sweet voice. "Brother David, what's going on? When did you get a little sister?" A few seconds passed in the summer heat, and my hand in David's pocket was getting sweaty. I was extremely nervous. Seeing that David didn't move for a long time, I unconsciously let go of his hand. Just then, my hand in his pocket was suddenly grabbed tightly. David turned to look at me with a half smile and said calmly, "Yeah, I'm here to pick you up." Then he lifted his eyes to look at Sophia, and his tone turned cold. "Don't call me brother so casually. I'm not familiar with you. My Emily is a bit jealous." In an instant, the private room fell into complete silence. Sophia's face stiffened, and she mumbled quietly, "So what? Who cares?" "I care." I leaned against David, my voice even higher pitched than Sophia's. "My brother David has only let me call him brother since we were kids." Michael finally couldn't stand it anymore. With a livid face, he came over and tried to hold my hand. I took the opportunity to hide behind David. Michael's hand hung in mid-air, and his voice was full of disbelief. "Baby, are you serious with me?" David shielded me behind him and said impatiently, "Don't call her that either. She's no longer your baby." His cold humor made me burst out laughing. When I laughed, Michael completely lost it and shouted at David, "David, are you being serious? Everyone knows Emily is my girlfriend." David raised his eyebrows and said mockingly, "Really? Seeing Sophia running to the boys' dorm every day, we all thought she was your girlfriend." Most of the people present were boys, and a few were in the same department as Michael. They all understood what was going on. Michael panicked and explained to me, "Baby, you've always known Sophia and I are childhood friends. She just comes to me for help." I looked at Sophia behind Michael. Her face was pale, and she looked so sad that it seemed like she was about to break. I suddenly felt a little sorry for her, but I still couldn't help smiling. "It's okay. I don't care. I'm generous with you." Michael probably had a bad memory, so I reminded him again. "Don't call me that after we break up. I'm not your baby." The onlookers behind the table fell silent. Michael was embarrassed and seemed to be trying to save face. He scowled at me and said harshly, "Fine. Break up then. Emily. Don't regret it. I didn't like you that much anyway. You're nothing special." I shrugged indifferently and pulled David Davis along as we left. After exiting the private room, within a few steps, Michael Johnson chased after us, shouting wildly down the hallway, "David, it's one thing for Emily Brown to mess around with me, but do you really think she likes you? If she liked you, why would she be with me?" After a long while, I heard David snort coldly, his tone full of disdain. What kind of alpha male competition is he stirring up? David doesn't even like me." Embarrassed, I pulled David along faster, my mind racing. Why didn't I sew Michael's mouth shut earlier? How long are you going to keep taking advantage of me? My hand is all red, David said, shaking the hand I was tightly gripping. His tone casual. Only then did I realize we were already far from the restaurant entrance. Just as I was about to pull my hand back, David suddenly grabbed it. A handsome face abruptly enlarged before me and stopped, though unwilling. I had to admit that David was the best-looking person I'd ever seen. Otherwise, I wouldn't have always chased after him when we were kids. Unlike Michael's flamboyant eyes, David has double eyelids that are more reservedly handsome. The best look is like now, when he slightly lifts his eyelids, and the small folds faintly appear. When did I ever kiss you? He had heard what I said at the dinner table. His palm was slightly cool, but covering my hand. It felt warm. My heart started beating irregularly for no reason. I pushed him away, trying to retract my hand. I meant when we were kids. Remembering childhood things so clearly, David looked at me with a half-smile. Emily, could it be that you really like me? My eyes widened, and my voice involuntarily rose. No. The hand he was holding suddenly let go. David put his hand in his pocket, straightened up, and returned to his aloof self. No need to shout. I can hear you. Also, given your taste in men. He paused, his tone unfriendly. It's really poor. This guy. He just had to hit a nerve at a time like this. I couldn't help but snap back. Oh, it's none of your business. David nodded and walked ahead on his own. But the direction was still toward my dorm. I jogged a couple of steps to catch up, trying to lighten the mood. When did you join the basketball team? David never played basketball in high school. He tilted his head and casually said, none of your business. Me. Childish. After walking quietly for a short while, I suddenly noticed that at some point, David's ears had quietly turned red. When we were kids, David's ears would turn bright red whenever he was shy. How come now? Just asking about the basketball team makes him shy. As soon as I entered the dorm, all three roommates looked at me. I instinctively touched my face. What? Is there writing on my face? The dorm leader said hesitantly. Emily Brown, have you checked your social media? I shook my head and opened the app. Michael must have lost his mind. Posting over 10 updates in a row. The latest one, long live loneliness. No guilt and heartbreak. Below was a glaring comment from Sophia Williams. Bye-bye then. Next one will be better. 2 idiotic attention seekers. I'll show you something else, but don't get mad first. The dorm leader handed me her phone. This is a group chat someone in our department made for gaming meetups. And there are quite a few people. The group chat had been buzzing with chatter for quite a while. So I scrolled to the top. What's going on? Is Michael Johnson heartbroken? At first, no one responded, and the message was quickly drowned out. After a few minutes, Sophia Williams replied to it. Everyone, stop asking. Michael is already heartbroken enough, even just gave a 10,000 Valentine's Day gift. She fell for someone else and didn't say it earlier. Making people feel so awful. That's all. Michael got so upset he got drunk. I need to go take care of him. The group was filled with people from our college. Many knew each other, but few dared openly gossip about the drama. Sophia Williams' messages just floated at the top, followed by a string of ellipses from group members. Silence spoke louder than words. I was furious and asked my roommate to add me back in. Without a word, I directly Sophia Williams. You're good at picking up trash. Must be tiring. I never got that 10,000 gift. But if I did, I'd burn it for you. How are you taking care of him? Not by sitting on his lap like at the party earlier. Right. Not illegal anymore since he's broken up. The group fell into a deathly silence. The next second, the group admin disbanded the chat. The next morning, my phone was bombarded with texts and calls from Michael. I couldn't help but roll my eyes and blocked Michael. Tuesday was class-free, and when my roommate saw me heading out, she stopped me. Emily Brown. Do you want to rest in the dorm? She pointed at my swollen eyes. I told myself not to be upset. But I'd never felt so wronged since childhood. I shook my head. Today's the last day to sign up for the Golden Sunflower competition. I'm going to register. My roommate's eyes lit up. You're competing. My major is TV directing. And she meant the Golden Sunflower Public Welfare Video Competition. Back then, I excitedly described my idea to Michael. And he seemed to listen intently but actually just shot me down. Baby, I think your topic is too niche. It probably won't work. Besides, you don't have the resources. It feels like empty promises. And everyone else started preparing ages ago. Maybe you should wait till next year. I was being dumb and almost got gaslighted by him. Thankfully, I made it in time. Right after signing up at the department office, I rushed off to book a venue. But of course, I ran into that illicit couple again. The office teacher looked conflicted. There's only one event room with a stage left. How about you all discuss it? I didn't want to negotiate with them and just said I'd already submitted my application. Sophia was there for her club and said confidently, Teacher, our drama club is joining the competition for collective glory, not personal gain. She paused, her tone humble, looking all pitiful. I applied a bit late this time. I'll remember next time. Michael saw her miserable expression and immediately chimed in. Yeah, Emily Brown. Aren't you joining that competition just to win the prize money? The office teacher's expression changed at the mention of prize money, and he finally gave them the key. I stormed out of the department office. But Michael caught up in a few steps and stopped me. Don't be mad. Sophia borrowing the room is a club task. If she doesn't get it, she'll get criticized. Not my problem. Move. Don't you just want to use the prize money to buy a new camera? I'll buy it for you. Michael grabbed my wrist, softening his voice. Baby, I'll buy it for you. Should we make up? I never told Michael about my family background or my real reason for entering the competition. Mentioning a new camera was just a casual remark. And I never said I'd use the prize money for it. Sophia stood nearby and, seeing Michael touch me, ran over. She faked innocence in a high-pitched voice. Sister, we're almost at the law school entrance. Are you here to see David Davis? As soon as Michael heard David Davis' name, his face changed and he let go of me. Hilarious. Just what I wanted. Can you shut up? I'm getting nauseous from the tea. As soon as I saw Sophia Williams, the first remembered what happened in the group chat last night. I almost slapped her across the face. Sophia pretended not to understand what I was saying and continued. David Davis is really something. He's so inconsiderate. It's so hot. And he doesn't even accompany you. Michael came with me early this morning. Doesn't he like you that much? I rolled my eyes. Your false eyelashes are falling off. You look so ugly. Your eyeliner is smudged too. And there's cakey makeup on your nose and it's coming off. I kept criticizing her with a straight face. My tone was so certain that Sophia stared at me with wide eyes and hurriedly out her phone to check. I turned around and walked away. I hadn't gone far when Michael chased after me. I couldn't shake him off. He kept buzzing in my ear. David doesn't even accompany you for such a small thing. If it were me, I'd definitely be with you. Does he buy you breakfast every day? Will he buy you medicine when you're sick? Is he as good to you as I am? The more Michael talked, the more confident he became. I almost believed him, seeing my increasingly sarcastic expression. He couldn't hold it anymore and started brainwashing me again. Let me tell you, Emily, if a guy really likes someone, he would have chased her long ago. He hasn't chased you for all these years. He's just playing around with you now. Michael had been chasing me quite persistently, right before the start of my sophomore year. I was dragged to shoot a freshman welcome promotional video. The subject of the shoot was Michael. When taking pictures, I was used to encouraging models and just kept complimenting him on how handsome he was. After the shoot, he came over with a red face to add me on WeChat and said humorously, I've never heard so many compliments in such a short time. Later, probably because I heard him say so many times that I was special. And Michael did give me some emotional support. I thought, why couldn't I try to like him? I tried, but reality gave me a harsh slap in the face. You're kidding me. When you said about buying medicine, do you mean making me wait for 3 hours and then I had to call an ambulance myself? During the May Day holiday, I stayed on campus. I had a bout of gastroenteritis in the dormitory and was in so much pain that I was dizzy. Michael promised me he'd bring me medicine, but in the end, he didn't show up. When I came back from the hospital, I ran into him at the girls' dormitory entrance. He stammered that a friend of his was drunk and he took her home. Hearing this, Michael looked guilty. That was an accident. I let out a cold snort. David is not like you. You only know how to talk sweetly. He would take me to the hospital, stay with me, and even feed me the medicine. During the winter vacation of my sophomore year in high school, I had a high fever in the middle of the night and whimpered for my mom. David rushed over. He looked so worried and held me in his arms to comfort me all night. When he took me to the hospital, the doctor joked with him. She just has a common cold. Look at you. A big guy. Why are you crying? I lifted my heavy eyelids and saw him wiping his tears in a hurry, with red-rimmed eyes. At that time, I thought David liked me. But later, I pulled myself back to reality and continued to scold Michael. He would also patiently tutor me, encourage me, and help me. He's 100 times more considerate and gentle than you. He loves me so much. So do I. I've loved him since I was a kid. I'm just playing around with you. Do you understand? So get out of my way and let me go to him. I was so busy avoiding Michael that I went in the wrong direction. After all, I wasn't really here to find David. The moment I turned around, I even thought about which planet I would move to. A few meters away, Dean Liu of the law school and Professor Zhang were surrounded by several students. David was standing beside them, holding a stack of documents. With his ears extremely red, Dean Liu patted David on the shoulder and joked with a smile. I didn't expect you to be so considerate, David. Professor Zhang couldn't hold back the wrinkles on his face. Yeah, haha. Youth is really wonderful. My mind went blank. I forced a polite smile and said, Good morning, Dean Liu. Good morning, Professor Zhang. Two big shots smiled and nodded at me. It seems we should give David a day off today. One of them said, Go on a date. You lovebirds. Don't waste this wonderful autumn scenery. After the two big shots entered the dean's office, the people around David immediately got excited. They nudged David and teased him. David, are you still going to play basketball later? One asked. Your girlfriend is waiting. Why bother playing basketball? Another chimed in. Hey, you're so annoying. Someone else complained. I wish I could emigrate to Mars right now. On campus, the leaves in the ginkgo garden had quietly changed. It was indeed a beautiful autumn scene. However, the combination of people enjoying the autumn was rather awkward. David handed me a hot latte and then playfully wouldn't let me take it away. His eyes were full of teasing. I love you so much I'm dying, he said. Me. Same for you. Me. You've liked me since childhood. Liked me so much you're dying. I clasped my hands together and held them above my forehead, covering my blushing face. Please stop. I'm begging you. Bro. I'll never talk nonsense again. I promise this is definitely the last time. I stole a glance at David's reaction and tentatively asked, Should I go and explain it to the professor for you? What was there to explain? Would the professor care about a student's relationship? David didn't respond. Instead, he started sipping his coffee on his own. After swallowing a mouthful of coffee, he suddenly turned and met my gaze. This is already the second time. Emily. David leaned towards me, and the aroma of oat latte wafted over. I couldn't help but swallow my saliva. David lowered his eyes, and his tone was so serious that it didn't seem like a joke. If there's another time, Bro will take it seriously. There won't be another time. My voice was weak, but my heart was pounding uncontrollably. David turned back and stopped dwelling on this topic. Instead, he asked me the reason for going to the dean's office. Talking about this, I felt rather frustrated. My progress was indeed much slower than others. I had chosen the theme of anti-abduction publicity, including expert interviews and a stage play performance. But there was still a lot to prepare. I was even outcompete by Sophia for the venue. I got carried away by David's words and started feeling down regardless of the situation. I seem unable to do it. Nothing is ready yet. Just like Michael said. I'm just an idealist and can't make things happen. Do you like him so much that you have to listen to everything he says? David interrupted me, his tone tinged with anger. I was taken aback and instinctively asked, "Why are you angry?" David was stunned. He stood up awkwardly, ending the conversation. "Let's go home. It's Mid-Autumn Festival tomorrow." Since childhood, I often stayed at David's home. My parents were police officers, and David's dad was their comrade in arms. After getting injured, he switched to business. My parents often went on business trips and left me at David's place. Sometimes I would stay there for a whole month. I was more than happy to stay with David every day. Over time, I had long regarded David's home as my own. When we got home, dinner was already prepared. At the dinner table, David's mom filled a bowl of soup and smiled as she handed it to me. "Emily, how's your love life recently?" "Last month, when I went to the movies with Michael at the mall, I happened to run into David's mom and her bestie shopping. My relationship was exposed unexpectedly." David paused in the middle of sipping his soup. I felt a bit guilty for no reason. "We broke up." "Then have you found a new boyfriend?" A mouthful of soup caught me off guard, triggering a violent cough. David Davis reached out expressionlessly to pat my back and help me catch my breath. "Nah. She's got someone she's crazy about. Won't date anymore." I looked at David Davis in disbelief, coughing even harder. He raised an eyebrow at me, wearing a mischievously triumphant expression. "Mrs. Davis glared at David, then turned to comfort me. "You should still date. Our Emily Brown is so beautiful. The line of suitors would stretch all the way to France. I'll find someone for you soon, Mom." "Your face mask is drying out." David interrupted her, stood up, and pushed her straight into the room. Returning to the table, he took the trash bin from my hands and tidied up. Without thinking, I belatedly corrected David. "Who said I'm not dating?" "Boyfriend." David paused while cleaning up. "Whatever." I couldn't help but regret my immature testing. I'd known for a long time that David didn't like me, and had never known that I'd liked him once. My mind was in such turmoil that I couldn't sleep, half asleep in the middle of the night. I got up groggily and stumbled back to my room. Just as I lay down, an unusual heat source came from behind me. I panicked and tried to sit up, but a hand suddenly reached out from under the covers. The next second, I tumbled into a scalding embrace. Then I remembered Mrs. Davis had said the ceiling in the guest room was leaking, so David and I had swapped rooms. But now, I was in my own room. David held me tightly, his burning breath against my neck making my head spin. "Dav, sorry. I shouldn't have snapped at you this afternoon." David suddenly spoke, his tone obedient, voice low and raspy. "It's not idealism. You can do anything you set your mind to. Always been that way since we were kids. I'll help you too. So go ahead without worry. Don't date anyone. Emily. I'll get jealous." On an autumn night, David's words struck like summer thunder, jolting me awake completely. I lay awake all night. I hadn't expected David to mean it when he said he'd help. He told me to prepare my materials, saying he'd arranged for a legal expert to interview me. When I arrived at the activity room as agreed, I ran into Sophia Williams. Sophia sprawled casually in a chair. "Emily Brown. This is our drama club's activity room. We don't lend it out. She used to call me sister non-stop before." But now she was using my full name. I shook the keys in my hand. Since when is that up to you? Sophia refused to move from her seat until I called the drama club president. She stormed off angrily. When I finished setting up the equipment, Sophia came back, as if she'd lost her mind. She started talking trash right away. I have no idea what you're pretending at. You're making this film just to build an online persona and become an influencer, aren't you? And now you're pushing some anti-human trafficking campaign, exploiting tragedy for profit. You're so fake. Yet Michael Johnson falls for it hook, line, and sinker, borrowing equipment everywhere to try and reconcile with you. So she hadn't won him over yet and came here to break down. Sophia, this isn't a garbage dump, I said expressionlessly. I told you that day. If you like trash, he's all yours. Sophia's rage flared up suddenly, eyes red. She rushed over and shoved me. But I met him first. If you hadn't acted cheap and seduced him, why would Michael like you? Didn't your mother teach you first come, first served? Or do you not have a mother? Ugh, Sophia shut up, I hit her. The trigger words unleashed all the accumulated disgust, and I couldn't take it anymore. I put all my strength into grappling with her. Since childhood, I've learned self-defense, so Sophia Williams couldn't beat me at all. Footsteps sounded outside the door. And the next moment, I was shoved aside by a strong force. My shoulder slammed into a sharp corner of the wall, and a wave of intense pain shot through me. That jerk. Ambushing me like that. Sophia's cries echoed through the entire activity room. Michael Johnson looked at the slap mark on Sophia's face and her disheveled hair, then glanced at me with only a slightly messy collar. He seemed to instantly understand what had happened. Emily Brown. How could you hit someone? I sneered. If I'm going to hit her, why wait for a specific time? Michael, I was just practicing in the activity room, and she came in demanding I leave. I said it wasn't for lending, and she went crazy. Sophia covered her face, snot and tears streaming as she accused me, making herself seem like she'd suffered some great injustice. Emily, you really act like a spoiled child. Michael was genuinely furious, grabbing my wrist tightly and glaring at me angrily. Isn't it because you felt humiliated at the last gathering that you're taking it out on Sophia? What gives you the right to be so arrogant? Didn't you treat me as David Davis' backup? You strung me along for almost a year. I flung Michael's hand away, accidentally slapping his face in the process. Shut up. You're not even worthy of being his backup. Michael took the slap and quickly grabbed my hand, as if trying to crush it. He stared at me in disbelief, looking heartbroken. Are you this domineering at home too? How do your parents put up with you? You have no upbringing. Michael's hand raised high, as if it would come down any second to vent his own anger and for Sophia's sake. I instinctively turned my head and closed my eyes. Rapid footsteps approached, but the expected pain never came. Instead, the grip on my wrist loosened. David Davis kicked Michael over from behind, then lunged at him, fighting like an out-of-control panther. He punched Michael in the face. How she acts at home is none of your business. And her parents. You have no right to comment on them either. I tried to step in to stop them, but a pair of hands held me back. Dean Liu, the legal expert David had casually mentioned bringing, was actually the dean of the law school, a heavyweight in criminal law. Dean Liu patted my shoulder reassuringly. We legal professionals sometimes use violence to solve problems too. He can't stand seeing you bullied, and he won't tolerate anyone slandering a martyr's family like that. My nose stung, and tears streamed down uncontrollably. When I lived at David's place, I slept in badly. David would complain. If I wait for you tomorrow, I won't be surnamed Davis. But the next day, he'd still pack my backpack and hand me milk at the breakfast table with a frown. Don't choke, slow down. I'd just act cute and say, David, once my parents come back, you won't see me anymore. But one time, they never returned. All I welcomed back were 2 small urns. They sacrificed themselves while fighting child trafficking and pursuing criminal suspects. When the fight had gone on long enough, Dean Liu finally stepped in to stop it. In front of teachers, everyone still had some restraint. Sophia, her eyes red, said tearfully, "Teacher, Emily really hit me first. This activity room was borrowed by our drama club for rehearsing the competition. It's for the team's honor." The same old story again. Sophia kept playing the victim, accusing, "Emily just wants the prize money to gild her resume. It was you who started cursing first. You deserve to be hit." Emotions running high. My voice involuntarily trembled with a sob. Sophia Williams hid behind Michael Johnson, making herself appear even more vulnerable. "When did I curse at you? Do you have any proof?" I couldn't take it anymore and pointed at the blinking red light of the camera. "You tell me, do I?" After watching the entire videotape, Michael looked at Sophia in disbelief, unable to utter a word. Sophia's provocations and foul language were all recorded by the camera one by one. Sophia panicked, her whole body seeming unsteady. Dean Liu adjusted his glasses and said, "Sophia, Emily Brown invited me for this interview not to enhance her credentials, but because her parents sacrificed their lives in anti-trafficking efforts. Her goal is simply to carry on their legacy. Moreover, you probably didn't know that Golden Sunflower is a charity competition, and all the prize money is donated entirely. If Mom and Dad knew I was still getting into fights in college, they would be so disappointed." The activity room emptied out, leaving only David Davis and me. I took out the iodine swabs from my bag and dabbed at the wound on his face. "They want." "How do you know?" David raised an eyebrow, his tone dripping with narcissism. "Because they won't be disappointed in me." I couldn't help but laugh, only to meet David's captivating eyes. Suddenly, the activity room felt unnervingly quiet. David took the swab from my hand and naturally wrapped his fingers around mine. "Still, in the future when I'm not around, try not to fight." He used his thumb to brush the dust off the back of my hand and murmured, "I'd worry." My heart skipped several beats, and I instinctively held my breath. This was already the second time David had said something like that. He himself had declared that if it happened again, I would take it seriously. I wasn't as composed as him and blurted out, "Why, David, didn't you say I was just arbitrarily arranged into your life?" Back in our youth, David's favoritism once made me think he liked me. But when we entered high school, David suddenly announced he wanted to live alone in the dorm until the Lantern Festival during senior year. When I was bringing David some sweet dumplings, I passed by the study and overheard him arguing with his dad. "I think you should still choose finance at South University. It's close to home. The company will be handed over to you eventually. And your engagement to Emily." David cut him off as if at his limit. "Could you please stop arbitrarily arranging my life?" That was when I realized I was the one who had been arbitrarily arranged into his life. So, the confession video diary I prepared to give him after the college entrance exams was forever deleted. I didn't hear David's response. He stood there frozen, as if he couldn't comprehend what I was saying. And in that instant, my courage evaporated. I fled in a panic. A few days later, I finally got to interview Dean Liu, dressed in a sharp suit. He sat upright in his seat reviewing my interview draft. Even though Emily is a directing major, her legal questions are surprisingly incisive. Dean Liu looked approvingly at the draft, then shifted gears with a teasing tone. "I bet David helped out quite a bit, didn't he?" David and I both coughed and looked down simultaneously. Dean Liu laughed heartily. "Look at you, all shy. To be honest, back in the day, I used to write news articles for your teacher's wife all the time too." After the interview recording wrapped up, David stayed behind to talk with the dean. I headed back to the dorm first. Just as I stepped out of the law school department office, I saw Michael waiting at the entrance. He looked haggard, utterly drained of energy. I didn't want to pay attention to him and walked away directly. He followed behind me. "Emily, Emily Brown. Sorry. I misunderstood you. I didn't know Sophia Williams would have such hostility toward you. And about the group chat thing. Why didn't you tell me? What's the use of telling you? Haven't I communicated with you before? I interrupted him. Sophia first appeared in Michael Johnson's Words on her birthday, which coincided with my 1-month anniversary with Michael. That time, Michael rejected Sophia. She got drunk and called, crying loudly, abandoning friends for looks. Today is my birthday. Michael later went to pick her up, which I only found out from Sophia's social media feed 2 months after adding her on WeChat. Her post was ambiguous. I knew you would come. 20. The picture showed a birthday cake and a figure. Which was Michael? I questioned Michael about it right away, but he didn't distance himself from Sophia again. Michael, are you really that oblivious? Or do you enjoy the feeling of playing two girls? Michael stiffened all over, his demeanor weakening a lot. I won't do it again. I've cut ties with her completely. Can you give me another chance? I really like you. No more chances. David Davis put his arm around my shoulder from behind and answered for me. Michael, if you keep harassing my girlfriend. David paused. I'll kill you. Why do you law students always talk about hitting people? And who is your girlfriend? On the tree-leaned path by the side door of the law school, David silently pulled me along. I shook off his hand, crossed my arms, imitating his previous demeanor. David. This is the 3rd time. I just wanted to tease him, but David suddenly looked serious, holding my hand, lowering his eyes. He spoke solemnly. What you said that day. I thought about it for a long time after going back, and I can't recall saying such a bastard thing. He looked up, staring straight at me. But Emily, since childhood, I've known him yours. How could you not feel it? As if thinking of something, David lowered his gaze and smiled self-deprecatingly. I wanted to confess after graduating from high school. But you told classmates you didn't like me anymore. I thought I'd wait a bit more. But while waiting, you started dating someone else. While saying this, David never let go of my hand. As the warmth of his hand transmitted, my heart swelled. I spoke with difficulty. That year, David's father mentioned our engagement, and you told him not to arrange your life arbitrarily. David was stunned for a moment, as if suddenly realizing. Is it because of that? I nodded. David slapped his head hard, and the next moment pulled me into his embrace. With the vibration of his chest, he said, I just didn't want to study finance. And besides, I like you. Unrelated to any old generation's agreements. Actually, David's actions had already said it all. But hearing those 4 words, I jerked my head up. What did you say? David paused, his eyes smiling. I said I like you. Have since childhood. Love you to death. So, consider dating me. When I didn't respond, David Davis raised an eyebrow. Do you need me to chase you a bit longer? How long did Michael Johnson chase you? Why bring up that unlucky person? Not wanting to hear him go on, I leaned in and covered David's chattering mouth. A light peck. But as I pulled away, a force gripped the back of my head. A wave of minty scent washed over me, dizzying me unexpectedly. With our lips locked, David said hoarsely, Didn't you say we kissed before? How come I don't remember? Didn't we already discuss this last time? Catching a breath, I was about to say it was from childhood when his tongue invaded again. Kiss me more. I'll try to recall. This guy, getting into character so fast. After finishing the interview film, I dove straight into shooting the stage play. Whenever he had time, David would come to keep me company, helping revise lines involving legal jargon. Michael was still relentlessly bombarding me with harassing texts, ubiquitous across all social media platforms. David was utterly speechless but couldn't actually beat him up. So he crushed Michael on the basketball court, leaving him shut down. I expressed total shock. Michael was on the high school basketball team. How did you improve so fast? David pursed his lips and snapped. Isn't it because someone said they like guys who play basketball? I've been practicing even in my dreams. Me. After the high school graduation reunion, it was pouring rain outside the hotel, and Cheng Yuan asked if I planned to confess. I was drunk. Shook my head, and said stubbornly, confess what? I don't like him. Not sure who I was trying to convince. I added unnecessarily. I like guys who play basketball. David never played basketball. After saying that, I turned and saw David standing there, holding my little flower umbrella. That was probably the start of our Cold War. Feeling guilty, I cranked up the intensity on David's massage chair. When I got the email from the Golden Sunflower official, I jumped up excitedly and hugged David. David, you're my biggest contributor. As hoped, I won the Gold Award. My film would be distributed online and offline across major TV stations, schools, and communities, dedicated to raising anti-kidnapping awareness. All my hard work paid off, and I was overjoyed. David nuzzled my nose. So how will you reward me? I cupped his face and was about to kiss him. Emily, have you seen the Golden Sunflower Award list? Oops. Mrs. Davis covered her eyes feebly, but her mouth was curved into a wide smile. She's the principal of the district elementary school. David clearly said Mrs. Davis had a meeting today and wouldn't be home. I scrambled off David in a panic. David and I hadn't told the elders about our relationship yet. Being caught like this, I wished I could vanish into thin air, compared to Mrs. Davis' cheerful attitude. Mr. Davis was very different. The dinner atmosphere was tense that evening, and after eating, Mr. Davis told me to go to my room first. I glanced worriedly at David. He squeezed my hand. I'll find you later. Mr. Davis slammed down his chopsticks. Emily is only 19. How dare you go to her room? In my mind, actual age. My action. Immediately stood up and obediently returned to my room. Though Mr. Davis left the police force years ago. When angry, his presence was as intimidating as ever. The study light was on until midnight. Until it went out. I texted David Davis. Are you okay? He didn't reply. A few minutes later, there was a noise at the window. I watched David climb in through the window, scaring me so much that I scrambled up and ran to catch him. Are you crazy? This is the second floor. David hugged me, whispering in my ear, his tone strangely aggrieved. My dad installed a wind chime at your door. It rings at the slightest movement. I hesitated and said, does David's dad not approve of us? No. He's afraid he'll bully you. When David came in, the window wasn't closed, and moonlight shone through the sheer curtains, casting a beam of light on the floor. David and I hugged quietly for a while. Emily, even my dad thought back then that I was trying to push you away. David said in a low, hoarse voice. I'm sorry. I'm such a jerk. I shook my head, realized he couldn't see, and hugged him tighter. Noticing his low spirits, I joked half-heartedly. Maybe after the college entrance exams, if we get together, I might fall for someone else in college. David pinched my chin, his eyes dangerous. You dare? Then he realized I might actually dare. He kissed me fiercely a few times on the lips. You'll be a bully only at home for life. Please. David, who had just showered, had a stronger minty scent. The coolness of his breath and his soft words created a huge contrast. On impulse, I wrapped my arms around his neck. See how David performs.